This is Dr. Slaton Live, okay? And remember, it's about the brain's body and the ultimate experience. And what we're talking about today is the learning crises, but we want to look at it from the mental health point of view. So that's why I called on Mr. Eclectic, because he has worked with me on the front lines for over 8 years of just dealing with children, families in crises. And so, Mr. Electric, please introduce yourself.
Well, good morning, Dr. Slaton. My name Tony Slaton. You've referred to the moniker that I've adopted, the eclectic, several different times, and I want to talk a little bit about that. Via my life experiences, I've decided to embrace the fact that I know a little bit about a lot of things. So I've had tremendous experiences across the spectrum, from growing up in a small town in Central California, on a farm, to living in Los Angeles and Dallas and New York, traveling most of the United States, visiting most states, meeting a lot of different people in a lot of different situations. And so my interests have included music and art, religion, business, entrepreneurship, education, mental health. And rather than try to segregate and pigeonhole myself, I just have decided to embrace the totality of my interests. So that's kind of who I am.
And those are relevant to today's discussion. Let me start off with and get us back to, I think, what everyone should be interested in from the perspective of the human learning crises, right? Which isn't based on race or ethnicity or religion. It's based upon the brain and how people that have been hurt by major life events have a problem with contact and interaction that leads to their ability or inability to cooperate. Okay? So we're talking about the mental health crises. I just transitioned from the learning to the mental health. So, Mr. Tony, what do you think about what I'm trying to describe in these podcasts or sessions?
I think a deeper understanding is needed of how the brain works, how we learn things. When you break it down into process cycles, they are things that people can see and work their way through and continue to deepen their understanding. I most recently shared with you from our work at the Boys and Girls Club, as I traveled through the community and run into young people that we touched, and how they have grown now. And as young adults, they come back and they are thankful for the time that we spent together. Again, the young people are appreciative of our time spent together, and I can't travel through the community without running into them, and most of them are doing well, but they make it a point to reach out and talk about how impactful that time together was at the Boys and Girls Club or that space. And via our work, the majority of that was really just making a contact with the young people. You have your process cycle of contact, interact, cooperate, and participate. But I'm amazed at how impactful just that contact was with young people. And so the little things, the greeting them by name each day, to them, the asking of how they're doing, the showing, and again, historically, you and I have talked about it, but signs of care, how you doing, how's school going, just showing an interest in them, and how that has stayed with them. It was enough to help them stay online so they could get to the next steps.
That's what we're talking about, because when we talk about mental health and children moving through the community with issues that evolve around crises, it's very important I think, that we interact with them in such a ways that helps them through the interaction so that they feel that sense of ease because we're trying to help them learn through the experience of us and leave that with us
Mhm.
and try to take the next step in a clear state of performing. So yeah, I appreciate that, and that's the significance of those three words. You make the contact in relation to the goal to interact. So when they came back to you and you were sitting there, that young man was exchanging that camaraderie around the fact you made it easier for me to interact through your signs of care. That's a mental health issue. That's
Mhm.
what I'm talking about.
Mhm.
So for us, I felt or I feel when I'm inside that classroom or learning center, it's important that I display that high level of intellect that you're describing and that they expect from you. And the reason being, not only are we modeling, but we as males may be the right time, place to do it in their lives. So
Mhm.
keep going, Miss Tony.
Two, again, from these interactions, another piece that comes back is that they felt safe. So being able to make contact with them in a way that made them feel safe and supported, and yet maintain some expectations of them or some accountability. And it really just helped them to move through. One of the young people that I ran into after his time here in Merced and at the club went on to join the military and became a care provider. And again, just the warmness, the comfort, the safety to say and do things, to experiment. We were really not into being punitive, but wanting folks to to step out and try things and have experiences and learn and grow from them. So again, and I'm kind of triangulating a few things in here to mental health, mental wellness, and even the boys club work was that nurturing the potential. So believing that there's something in each and every one of us and helping us to find that, finding it for ourselves, but also helping our young people find it and our adults. and
Absolutely. And so that's that sense of feel for self that we're always trying to make them more aware of. Because many times, as you're remembering, they would get up to do their presentation through the voices going on inside them. And what I would try to get them to do is first just be cool and calm down, breathe, because you're going to collect that sense of feel for self in that moment relative to the brain. And then they began to perform. I mean, that's that care. So you can keep bringing it because that's the mental health issue. So let me give you another example. You have a kid who's in a classroom that's competitive and scored based on letter grades. And sometimes some people report those grades out loud in public space. But when you do these things through signs of care, then you allow that person to prepare to receive that information. And that's different from just dropping it on them because when you do that, you allow them to adjust to you and work through you and understand, even though it's difficult. I mean, that's how I've gotten a lot of high end performances out of children who had low self concepts. And from there, you allow them to evolve because there's a brain inside the body that we're talking through, right? And
yeah,
so I'm talking to you about mental health. And at the same time, I'm applying the roles of a human learning consultant, which is to figure out how to calm this person down so they can begin to realize what being hurt feels like, but then self help through their acceptance of our help. That's what was happening when
Mhm.
you talk to us about your feedback.
I think one of the there are many important parts, but one of them was to not clump kids together, but look at them individually. Um, Again, the little things like addressing them by their names and spending time with them individually to strengthen them up or to reinforce the contact before group things. And so I think and I didn't know it then, but you used to refer to it as formatting, but just building that contact so that we can move to higher levels. But again, when young people come back, so that was 2005, we're looking at almost 18, 20 years, and they come back as young adults, and just the importance of having been handled, but having been treated with care, uh, um, by name, individually, supported, all those things was really just kind of a foundational piece from the community perspective, the work that we were doing to help them launch into other areas.
And we did have those situations where our kids were in crises. We had a couple of shootings in the neighborhood where one of our kids was shot in the leg. And the way we approached it and the way that we dealt with it was not through aggression, but was through helping the young person understand the experience, which is the care part. And I think when we talk about the human learning crises, I want it to be made clear that the approach is to understand that we're talking about addressing the needs of children as information processors. Because what you're relaying back to me is that when they come back, they're expressing the information processing skills they acquired. And now they're trying to deliver them back to you so that you can assess where they are right now as adults. So even you and I, at the end of the day, we're processing the information on a continuous basis, which means that we have to realize the brain functions 24 hours a day. Okay. So the mental health issue is very real because you have to be a learner 24 hours a day so that you understand the way the brain is changing the way you function. So that's what we're describing when we talk about human growth cycles, children evolving, not staying the same, but evolving. And then when they come back into your space, giving you forward feed that you can assess right in front of you and say, or wow, we did some pretty good work.
Mhm.
So I want to thank you, Mr. Tony, for your participation this morning. Anything else you want to add?
Again, the eclecticism in me, really looks for linkages and connections, thought of potential within each and every one of us, from your perspective or from a mental health perspective, or even the Boys and Girls Club. Again, that there is something special in each and every young person, and that we can support them in getting to that. And whatever the blockages that get in the way, helping them to better move through them, move past them to get to the other side. And again, I think it starts with just contact or relational, and creating a feeling of safe that unlocks a lot of other possibilities.
Great, great. So I'm going to close with you're talking to me about healing time through feelings of care all the time. Anytime the child came to the Boys and the Girls Club, that's what they experienced at the door. I want to thank you, Mr. Tony, and I'm here to let you know that the experience of your system was good for me as well.
Thank you, Dr. Slaton. I appreciate you saying that and sharing that with me. And likewise, I learned a lot with you, and I appreciate your support.